right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
All right, thank you, and thank you for sticking around for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'll be joined by Andrew Fillipponi in a matter of moments, and we're taking your phone calls tonight. 412-575-2600 is the number, so get on board. We have a couple lines open right now, 412-575-2600, and there's Pony right there. And Pony, one of the biggest stories so far, I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday, as Merlin Valdez, the magician, on a tear. We didn't get to see him do anything today because the Pirates got postponed with all the storms in New York City, flooding. I think there was a tornado warning, so they did the right thing by postponing and making a doubleheader tomorrow. Mitch Keller will go in the first game as scheduled against Garrett Cole. Bubba Chandler was supposed to pitch today, and he'll pitch in the second game. But I want to get back to Merlin, the magician, and what kind of deal you could offer. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. And I know you're not ready to offer him some kind of deal. I mentioned 8 years, $100 million yesterday.
For $80 million, I think I would do it. I'd roll the dice. I'd say this is not a fluke over 30-plus games. This is the real deal with the guys. So in that, when you put it like that, Richie, $80 million, $100 million, there's a $20 million gap there. I think that would be big enough for me to go through with it. You brought up a good point unintentionally when you said the magician. Why is he called the magician when Merlin was a wizard? Why is he not called the wizard?
I don't know.
Seriously. How did we screw that up?
I don't know. Everyone started calling him the magician. Merlin the magician? Yeah, it's a wizard. Nah.
His name isn't as Houdini, who was a famous magician. He's named after a famous wizard. So we got to clear that up maybe, and the wizard might have to become his new moniker.
Well, I think, Pony, if you and I start calling him the wizard, and if Pomp does, it's going to stick. Everyone's going to start calling him the wizard.
Yeah, the Pomp bump would be huge.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So let's all do it. I'll talk to Pomp, and we'll start calling him the wizard now. That's our Penn West University question of the night, by the way. Just scan that QR code in the right-hand corner of your screen. Would you offer Valdez an 8-year deal for $100 million? I know it said $100 million yesterday, but it looks like a lot of people, well, this keeps moving right now. It's kind of split, but more people want to say yes. I think 80 is the number, and why I said 80 is because I think if he continues to be above average ball player, right, a good power hitting outfielder, he's going to make somewhere around $45 million just with team control. So he gets a little bit of bump, and you're getting a couple more free agent years, and if he is really good, you win. You lost on Ke'Bryan Hayes, so I could see the reluctancy that the Pirates might have with it. But you can win some of these, too. I think you're going to win on Connor Griffin.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a real argument on both sides to not do it. For the Pirates side, it is a sizable risk, even though it's not a huge one, but still $80 million is not chump change to them.
But it's $10 million a year, Pony, right? $10 million a year.
I know when you do it like that, but look, the first 3 years he's going to make less than $1 million a year. That's the way that baseball has done these contracts. Now maybe the new CBA will change that. So I'm not really factoring that in or thinking about it, but I probably should. We probably should. But now take it from Valdez's perspective. His numbers right now in terms of the start to his career are in line with Yordan Alvarez, Albert Pujols, Ted Williams, just all-time great players. And so you don't want to sell yourself short either. So there might be a strong case for both sides to let it play out and see what happens. Because, we've seen a lot of guys get hot for 30 games. It's another thing to do it over 162 and to duplicate it and replicate it after that one season. So you got to love what you've seen from Valdez. Richie, I think there's a case, that he's going to be the Rookie of the Year. Even though he missed so much time at the beginning of the year based on how prolific his power numbers have been. I think he's third right now. He's already moved way up the charts behind J.J. Weatherholt and Sale Stewart of the Reds, who was an all-star. So he's making a huge impression on people with the way he has started this year.
Yeah, and I think if I was Valdez, you're right. You can make a case for both sides. But if I'm Valdez, I look at $80 million guaranteed. Right now, he doesn't have anything guaranteed. He could hurt his wrist running into the wall. and it could screw up his swing, his power, and then he's not even getting anywhere close to $80 million. 8 years is not really a long time, especially when he's tied up for 6 already.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned that about the injury. I mean, look at O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz is making $3 million right now. If he comes back and plays and he doesn't play a lot of games, that's going to affect his arbitration number for next year. He'll get a raise, but it's not going to be a huge raise because of the amount of time he's missed. Time is money for O'Neal Cruz right now. That's how arbitration works. And so if this injury thing continues to follow Cruz, for as talented as he is, he might never see a big payday. He might get a decent payday. Somebody might pay him based on the fact that he can hit home runs and he can run, but he's not a good defensive player. And now he's got kind of an injury-prone label on him. So to your point, sometimes for guys, it does make sense to take the guaranteed contract. And for Ke'Bryan Hayes, it made a ton of sense, as it turned out. For Gregory Polanco, it absolutely did. I mean, he never, after his first or second year, got back to that level of play, but he was getting paid like a player they projected to become much better than that. So it's a really, I think, interesting discussion and debate to have, because in this case, I do think both sides have merit to what they're saying.
And he's young enough, this would give him the ability to sign another huge deal if he is great. So you're still going to make a ton of money either way. All right. I want to talk about Mitch Keller. We had to do it after the break. We also have some phone calls. 412-575-2600 is the number. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is our Xfinity Tweet of the Night. Look at this. As Merlin, the Wizard it is, Valdez, 34 RBI, playing his 32nd big league game tonight. That game will be tomorrow because it was postponed because of the weather. The last 3 players who have knocked in more runs, we just went over this in the first segment. Yordan Alvarez, Albert Pujols, and Ted Williams. Pretty big company.
Those are 3 Hall of Famers, I think.
Probably. I would imagine so. No question about that. All right, let's get right out to the phone lines. We got our number 1 Cochran Sports, or number 1 Cochran Call Go One Better now. Let me get that right. Number 1 Cochran Go One Better Call of the Night. And that's David in Finleyville. What's up, David?
Hi, thanks, Rich, for taking my call. I wanted to ask yours and Tony a question. What do you think about trading O'Neal Cruz for Mason Miller and the Giants? You got nothing to lose if you want to go far in the playoffs.
Well,
hang up and listen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we were just talking about O'Neal Cruz, but you're selling him very low, and I don't even know if San Diego would do that. Would you? I mean, you might do it if you're a Pirates owner, fan, commentator, or whatever. I don't know if I would do it if I was San Diego. We just talked about injuries being a major problem with Cruz.
Right. Yeah, and there's only 2 years of control left on Cruz compared to 3 years after this season for Mason Miller. I think about it this way, too. Jeff Passan came out with a report today that Mason Miller's available, but that the Padres want major league ready starting pitching. All right, so if that's what they're looking for, and they can pretty much get what they want, the guy's in demand. He's the best relief pitcher in baseball. So you're not going to have to settle. You can pretty much shoot for the sky and end up in the stars. If they want major league ready starting pitching, I think they're going to get it. Now, Seth Hernandez isn't that because he's still at single A. I wonder, total hypothetical, if the Padres wanted Jared Jones, what would the Pirates' reaction be to that? Would that be off the table because Jones is a starter and he's pitched well recently and they still have high expectations for him? Or would they look at it, Richie, like, okay, we can get Mason Miller, then we can put Majinski back in the bullpen. We're not really losing a lot in the starting rotation, and now we've got the best bullpen arm in the entire sport to get the last 3 or 4 outs of the game. That's how I would look at it. I would do that. If that trade that the caller brought up, O'Neal Cruz for Mason Miller, if it got offered, I think I would do it. And I was reluctant at first, but the more I've thought about it and the more this Cruz injury this year has dragged on, if that really ever got presented to the Pirates, I would do it, and I would think they might do it too.
Yeah, and when you brought up Jared Jones, I didn't even think about him. I was actually thinking of Braxton Ashcraft. What would you think of that? Ashcraft for Miller? Is that even enough? I mean, it's a shame that Mitch Keller has been so bad because I think they might be interested in the first 8 games of the season. Keller might be attractive.
Yeah. Look, any of those guys, okay, Ashcraft, Jared Jones, Bubba Chandler, if the Padres wanted any of those guys for Mason Miller straight up, I would make the trade. I would do it. And starting pitchers pitch more than relievers, and inherently because they're pitching more, they're more valuable. But those guys, and Ashcraft was an all-star, those guys to me are not yet. We don't know if they're ace pitchers. We don't know if they're necessarily going to be, number 1 or number 2 starters. Ashcraft looked that way this year. Now he hasn't recently. Jones has recently. Chandler still leads the league in walks, even though we've seen good things from him in June especially. But I wouldn't let any of those guys keep me from getting the best closer in baseball for the rest of this year and then 3 more years.
Yeah,
but
you'll never be able to re-sign him.
Great.
You're not going to be able to keep him here, right? Does that matter to you? Miller.
No, it doesn't. Well, I don't know. I mean, would you be able to keep him? Probably not, but I think you'd have a better shot because he's from here, and closers aren't as expensive as front-end starting pitchers. So maybe you could. Unlikely, but I don't think it would be impossible. It's impossible to keep Paul Skeens. I don't think it would be impossible to keep Mason Miller.
All right, Bob in Greensburg. How you doing, Bob? Ben in Greensburg. Ben, how you doing, Ben?
Hey, guys. Hope you're doing well.
Good.
Just wanted to give you guys a quick call about, I don't know if you saw the post where it was Ozuna next to Lau, and it was based off of their numbers since June or May, and they're pretty much very similar. Not saying that, Lau has had those late game impacts, but there is something to be said about Lau. He is very shaky when it comes to hits being consistent with hits. And there's something to be said about his body language too. A lot of games I just feel like he's down on his body language or down on himself, and it can stop the momentum rolling. I don't know if you guys consider packaging Lau with a Mitch Keller, try to put him on the back end there to get Mason at this point.
That's interesting too. I'm on board with trading Lau just because you're not going to be able to re-sign him. He's gone after this year. He walks after this year, and I feel like you could trade a strength of your team for a strength. I mean, I don't know. Who knows if San Diego would even want Lau? They need offense.
They would not.
But he's a rental player essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't even know if they'd want Keller. I mean, he's been awful.
They would not.
Yeah.
They would absolutely not. That would make the deal less attractive because of how bad that contract looks right now. No, they would never do those 2 guys for Miller.
But I'm not opposed to trading Lau. We talked about this yesterday.
Well,
I think we could figure something out.
I gotta say, I gotta give Ben, I think, credit for something. I don't know who put that tweet out there. Lau is made when he has a big hit or a home run. It's usually a clutch one. It's a game-changing event. However, the caller's not wrong, and whoever tweeted that's not wrong either. When you look at Lau from June 15th to now, so a month of stats. It's not good. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But relative to everybody else on the team who's hit like crazy, Valdez, Reynolds, O'Hearn, Gonzalez, I think even Henry Davis over the last month has a higher OPS than Lau. And one thing about Lau that is 100% true, and to O'Neal Cruz's credit, he did a much better job of this early in the year because O'Neal Cruz hit lefties. Lau has not hit lefties all year. He really hasn't. He's been in the lineup against them more. They still hit him second or third in the lineup against lefties. But for the most part, his numbers against left-handed pitching has been bad this year. So I think what we're discovering with Lau, Richie, is the guy's hit a lot of home runs. He's driven in runs too. But he does go in slumps. He's not a great defensive second baseman either. I think he's average.
Yeah.
So, to me, he's a good player. He's not a stud, though. He's not a franchise player like Andrew McCutchen was 13, 14, 15. He's a really good player, but I would not sign him, let's say, for $25 million a year or whatever it is. I would not do that with him moving forward.
Yeah, neither would I. He brought up Marcelo Ozuna, which is interesting because a lot of people want to trade him. I don't think you can trade him. I don't think you could get anything for him. I wish the Pirates could trade him.
Well, the only way I think you could trade him is if you paid him for the rest of the year or most of the year. And I don't think they want to pay him and not have him on the team. I think that's the only way somebody would take him, is if they felt like they were getting him for pretty much nothing and it was a complete flyer and a complete roll of the dice. And the Pirates, I don't think, will eat that kind of money. So I believe he is stuck here for the duration of the year. And what a shame, because that money could have been spent much more wisely and much better by the Pirates this offseason.
Yeah, on a couple bullpen arms, and they wouldn't be in this situation. All right, we're going to take a break. Back in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh along with Andrew Fillipponi. We're talking about the Pirates and what do you do? What do you think they realistically do? We don't have a lot of time here, maybe a minute. We're, what, a couple weeks away, less than 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. I think they do make a move, and they're going to bring in some bullpen help, but I don't even know who they trade. Who's the most likely candidate on this, maybe the Major League roster to be traded or one of the prospects?
I think they're going to trade one of their minor league shortstops for a package of Mets relievers. So I don't think it's going to be Luke Weaver, but I could see either Brooks Raley, A.J. Minter, Brazaban, who's a righty who can pitch short and long relief, even start. I think one or two of those guys will end up Pirates before the trade deadline, and they will give up a prospect that's not even in their top 10, Richie. That's my prediction.
What do the Mets want? What do they need? I mean, they got a huge payroll. I mean, what would they want?
Guys with a pulse. I mean, they need everything. Frankly, I mean, they're having one of the worst seasons in franchise history, and they've got the biggest payroll in the league.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Pony. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we'll see you guys on KDKA News coming up in just a couple minutes.